Oh my god, boobs, yeah, attractive woman, yeah, nice. They're actually all guys. Not to be confused with cross-dressing, genderbender or genderswap is a genre where the main premise of the story is about boys morphing into girls or vice versa. And it's one of my favorite genres. No, not because of the big boobs. Okay, maybe a little bit, admittedly, but that's not the point I'm trying to make today, okay? Kind of, okay, actually it kind of is the point I'm trying to talk about. Alright, whatever, focus up. I feel that it's almost impossible to be taken seriously when it comes to the genre of genderbender. Genderbender already has this kind of stereotype of like guys becoming girls, girls becoming guys. That's freaking weird. Okay, that's another entirely different topic as well that can be discussed. No, my problem with genderbender right now is that many manga have a tendency to just use the genderbender trope in a boring and meaningless ways, often just as sexual relief. Yes, sexual relief, like a fleshlight, like masturbation. No, seriously, one of the biggest examples is turning the main character into just another victim of let's sneak in as many panty shots as possible and make the guy that turned into a girl embarrassed, and we can get away with it because they used to be a guy and they're technically a guy on the inside, and that doesn't make it weird. Probably. I don't know, whatever, it's not sexual harassment, it's not even gay. Honestly, I kinda get it though. It's really entertaining to see a cute girl get embarrassed and get into strangely sexual and ecchi scenarios, and then afterwards they shout out, "I'm a masculine male." And then the viewer afterwards can be like, "Hey, alright, I guess it's a masculine guy. Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. Yeah, got it." It's fine, I'm okay with that, you know, it's sometimes pretty funny. I like reading myself a bit of cute embarrassed girl boys too. We all do. But the fact that this is the most dominant view and the most popular way that genderbender is represented nowadays is a bit disappointing, because it turns such an interesting and meaningful concept full of depth about identity into just a joke genre that gets played around for laughs. And again, there's nothing wrong with this sexual view being more popular in the main way it's perceived, but the thing is, when most people see this sexualization and it becomes the predominant method of being viewed, it can be dismissed and misinterpreted along the same line of hentai and ecchi as just a simple subcategory of degeneracy. It also has a second effect where if it's perceived as a degenerate kind of genre, it can further create this image that these kind of LGBT plus genres are sexual in nature, when this is not even true at all. My point is that when an entire genre gets thrown into the same carpet of hentai and ecchi, it just becomes a lot harder to be taken seriously, and it's a shame because some of the mangas within the topic of genderswap are literally some of the most content and depth-filled delicious ideas that you can ever experience in any medium. It is an absolute shame to just not share them to the world and for them to just be placed along the same lane of "I returned home for the first time in a long time and my brother transformed into a girl." Conceptually, genderbender is one of the most diverse and interesting ideas you can explore because it's such a heavy topic when it comes to identity change and adaptation. But half the time, getting genderbent is portrayed as a goofy, haha honey, let's masturbate for pussy and touch my tits. But the reality of having your body morph completely in such a drastic way changes the way you see yourself completely. It's so interesting because no matter how horny and edgy a genderbender could get, the inevitability of addressing the differences between being a girl and a boy and having to adapt to them is always present. This change to your body is more mortifying because just like that, you're forced to live in a world that's completely different. The reality is, men and women have different traits and expectations associated to their gender, whether it be simply just the way you go to the toilet or your physical body differences. A big theme across a lot of gender bends is just simply adapting to the very idea of femininity or masculinity. Seeing a character metamorphosize and adapt under these conditions is so interesting because you can see how identity is expressed. Why the fuck did I just use that word? You can see how identity is expressed, how much people rely on the idea of being a girl or boy in order to be themselves, and how different people perceive them to be. I'm using a lot of pretty big words here. Let's just use an example of Shishunki Bitter Change, a simple manga where a girl and a guy swap bodies and they essentially have to live in the opposite person's life. At a certain point, the guy who's actually a girl on the inside becomes really sad because she liked being a cute girl. She liked dressing up, doing fashion, doing her makeup, but now she's a boy and the most she can do is just watch other girls live their lives, her life, and instead she's just forced to live as a masculine boy, increasingly becoming more and more masculine, repressed and unable to ever live out her younger dreams of being a cute feminine girl. This feeling of entrapment, this caged birch situation, is incapturable in any other medium at all, and Genderswap is the only genre that can give you such identity fuckery, and it's so amazing. A lot of stuff, whether we see it or not, is gendered, and because of that, Genderbender is an amazing opportunity to explore and touch onto these scenarios of identity. The funny thing is, I only just touched the very bare surface of the iceberg of what this genre can entail. I only talked about the most basic level of gender and how Genderbender can be used in such a way. There are already so many amazing mangas out there. The Gender of Mona Lisa, Watashi ni Narumare are all phenomenally different angled views of gender and what you can do with such a concept. But the genre currently now is kind of just infested with authors relying on using Genderswap as a funny gag, as a cheap way to make the viewer laugh, because the reality is, it's just a lot easier to do cute edgy scenes where a guy turns to a girl with huge tits and a fat ass and gets weirdly sexual with their boy best friend. And to be fair, even though it's entertaining, it does rub off in a bad way for the amazing stuff that's hiding behind the front page of Genderswap. Again, I have to reiterate, I don't necessarily mind that Genderbender is over-sexualized, and there isn't anything inherently wrong with it. Especially since one of the most popular authors within the genre explores sexuality in such a way. But this video is more so a sigh of frustration when I tell people about Genderbender and people look at me in a weird way, and not in the weird way that I'm a little freaky, but like a weird way like I killed 4 people in 1998 and weren't found kind of way. I didn't do it, by the way. Genderbender is one of the most interesting and complex psychological identity dramas you can find yourself in. There's so much meat in the mangas, and if you look past the incessant amount of hentais and ecchis, there is amazing stuff out here. Here's an example that I found, it's one of my favorites. My father has become a beautiful girl and... Follow my dirty whore Twitter please, thank you.